Are there any inherent mysteries in the universe? Are there some things which are just by their nature forever beyond the realm of comprehension? My answer represents kind of an essential idea in this worldview that I'm creating. And the answer is no. Everything, in theory, makes sense. Now, this doesn't mean that everything is knowable at once, or that we can know all information that there is to know at once, but it means that there's nothing inherent about how the universe operates which is beyond comprehension. There's no paradoxes that are out there. There's no intrinsic paradoxes or essential mysteries that we just can never understand. A popular candidate for something like this is consciousness. People say, well, we can never unlock all the mysteries of consciousness because we have to use consciousness to evaluate consciousness. It's like you have a flashlight that you're trying to shine the light on the back of the flashlight, and however you turn it is never going to shine it on the back of the flashlight. Now, I disagree with this. I think that as technology progresses, there's not going to be anything out there which is essentially unknowable. In other words, we'll eventually invent mirrors so that you shine the light into the mirror, and eventually the light gets shined on the back of the flashlight, and then you can see what's there. Another way of saying this is that everything makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean I understand everything or I know everything. It's that everything by its nature is sensible. It could be comprehended, not that it is comprehended. The reason that I say this is because the bedrock of this worldview is logic. And logic applies to literally everything. Anything that is in existence, logic applies to. And so you can come up with a sentence like this. For anything that exists, it is however it is. And if that's true, it is however it is, that means that it is knowable. That is something we've essentially put all possible knowledge, all possible existent things into a bag. And we've said, everything in there, I can know the most abstract truth about it, that it is however it is. So it automatically puts everything within the realm of knowability. We can also say things like, in that bag, take everything that there is and every possible truth that you will possibly know, throw it in the bag, and what else can we say about it? Well, we could say that for all those truths, they are not how they are not. There will be no inherent contradictions in that bag. It will all be knowable truths or knowable things about the universe. A lot of people rush to the idea of there being inherent mystery in the universe. This is where you get a lot of conceptions of God. You get a lot of religious ideas, a lot of woo-woo ideas about quantum physics, for example. People say there are just these things that, we escape from reason, we escape from rationality, we escape from logic. And everything that I've researched, there's no reason to believe that. In fact, the opposite is true. If you think that you've escaped from reason and you've discovered this area to which logic doesn't apply, it's just a reflection of confusion on your own part. When you sit and you understand and you think about the nature of how logic applies to everything, it means that everything has this intrinsic nature of understandability to it. Even something like God, let's say that God exists, there's a first cause, God exists, or even a theistic God, there's a God that intervenes in human affairs. Let's say that's true. Well, God is however he is, and he isn't how he isn't. So that means there's nothing that is inherently contradictory or paradoxical or unknowable about God's nature. You could say, for example, imagine you had the mind of God that knew everything. Does he know everything there is to know about himself? Well, yeah, if he knows everything, which means that his nature is knowable, even something like God. Now, of course, we have to distinguish this from the arrogant idea, which is that we know everything there is to know. That, of course, is self-evidently wrong. You can just introspect and think about all the different things that you don't know. I don't know, for example, how many people were born on my birthday around the globe. I have no idea. There were probably a lot of people that were born that very minute. I don't know. But it's something that is inherently knowable. There's no mystery about it. It's just information that we may never have access to, but in theory we could have access to. I think this is also a really exciting idea because it means there's no reason to ever stop the pursuit of truth. All the information is out there. In theory, it's all out there. You just have to find a way to discover it. I think that gives puts a little coal in the furnace for intellectuals who are pursuing truth to think, oh, these are questions that I can have answers to. And this is very important specifically in the world of philosophy, because there's a ton of people out there that think the questions of philosophy are somehow inherently unknowable. We can never know the nature of numbers, or we can never know how consciousness works, and we can never know how we know knowledge or what the nature of logic is. Well, that's not true. That's just a lazy excuse to stop thinking about these things. In fact, I think if you put enough effort in, you have enough skepticism, not only is it possible to arrive at conclusions, I think you can, and you think you can be very confident in the conclusions that you arrive in philosophy. So this idea that everything has some inherent sensibility to it, I find very exciting, and I think it follows just from understanding the nature of logic, that everything in all possible universes is however it is, and it certainly isn't how it isn't. And so we can know something about it. If you like these ideas, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to help create a more rational worldview, then please head over to my Patreon page and you can support content like this for $1.